Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about OpenAI GPT. Talking about the agenda, this would be our agenda for today. We would be talking about introduction to OpenAI, what is GPT-3, what exactly is the architecture for GPT-3, what are its capabilities and the key feature, what are the next generation app, how we can build a conversational AI with the help of GPT-3, and what is the difference between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT. All of this we are going to cover in this video. So let's get started by having a quick introduction about the OpenAI. So OpenAI is an organization which was founded in 2015. It is a research based organization that aims to develop and promote the friendly AI. When I say AI, it simply means artificial intelligence. OpenAI as an organization conducts research in various areas like computer vision, natural language, robotics. This organization also develops some of the open source tools and models to make AI accessible to the developers and the researchers. In the previous video, we have talked about ChatGPT that we are going to cover a brief in this video as well. So ChatGPT is again a product from OpenAI as well. Some of the notable projects are the GPT-3 model, the OpenAI Gym platform, and the reinforcement learning, Sumo platform, and more, right? So ChatGPT is also a product from OpenAI. Now you might have noticed I am highlighting here GPT-3, so that is what we are going to cover in a bit detail in this session, that what exactly is this GPT-3. When I say GPT-3, GPT stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and the 3 indicates that this is the third version of this language. Okay, now GPT stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. There is a word which is called transformer which is highlighted. That is because I want to focus more on the transformers, and I want to let you know guys that why exactly the transformers are so important and why it is so different from the existing ML technologies, right? So as of now, just understand that GPT-3 stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformers. GPT-3 has been trained on a massive amount of data using the unsupervised learning, right? So whenever we talked about the machine learning algorithms, we have something which is called supervised learning, and then we have something which is called unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is a type of machine learning technique where the algorithm is trained on the labeled data. So in supervised learning, we already know what we are expecting as an output. The goal of the supervised learning is to use this labeled data to train the model and make accurate predictions or classifications when presented with an unseen data. On the other hand side, unsupervised learning is a type of machine learning algorithm where the algorithm is trained on unlabeled data. So supervised, it was labeled data; unsupervised, it is unlabeled data. The goal of the unsupervised learning is to identify the parameters and relationships in the data without any predefined output variables. So GPT-3 has been trained on the unsupervised learning. That is also we are going to cover in brief, right? So as of now, just understand that it means that generative pre-trained model, it is trained on a massive amount of unsupervised learning, and it has got 175 billion parameters, making it one of the largest model ever created. Because of its large size and the extensive training, GPT-3 can be used in a variety of language processing tasks such as language translation, question answering, text summarization. It also can generate human-like text like stories and even write computer codes. All of this we are going to see in a little bit detail in the coming sections. Next, why exactly GPT-3 is different in terms of the language processing? We might have heard a lot of language models before, but why it is so different and what is so special about it? This is the model of evaluation of language model, which is from 2018, 19, 20 onwards, right? So as you notice here, these are all the languages which are coming language model at the bottom, and these are the parameters which are available for this thing, right? For the ChatGPT 3, you can notice that it is trained on 175 billion parameters. The first thing that GPT-3 overwhelms when it is the sheer size of the trainable parameters, which is 10 times more than any of the previous model. As per the creators, the OpenAI GPT-3 model has been trained about 45 TV text data from multiple sources, which include Wikipedia and books, right? So this is why this GPT-3 model is different from the existing language models which are available in the market. Now that we understand that why it is different, let's have a quick look at the architecture. That what exactly is the architecture for the GPT-3. I would try to make it understand you in a simpler terms. There are more logic, more maths behind it, but as a beginner to this thing, I would try to make you understand by simply giving some examples. Okay. So let's say I have an input to the model where I want to ask the robot that explain me the robotic process automation. Okay, this is the input which we have to give to the any model. So this setting icon indicates that this is some model. For reference, I have made is GPT-3. Ideally, whenever a model works, it will process your input and it will give you an output saying that robotic process automation is a technology, robotic process automation is a branch of AI, RPA is a tool, something it will give, right? Now this output entirely depends on the model or the data set which you have used to train this model. If you have more data set, more model, you are going to get a good output, right? So this is how a very high level architecture, you give input, you have some model data set, the model process and gives you the output, right? So the key thing here becomes that what is your data set size and what is your model size. In the previous slide, we have seen that GPT-3 has got 175 billion parameters, which means that the chances of getting the output proper from this model increases. So that was about the first thing about the architecture. Now let's go deep into what exactly happens inside the model. Okay, so this was our model. I have given a question that what is an RPA? Now, for the unsupervised learning models, the objective is to find the next word which would come, right? So the next word would be RPA is a technology, or it could be RPA is a branch of AI, or it could say that RPA uses a tool called UiPath, right? So the model already knows that these are some of the correct data with the labels. Now, the expectations from the model is to predict the next word. Now, what happens if the model predicts something like mango, right? Robotic process automation is a mango? It's absolutely not, right? So that means whatever the model has predicted is nowhere close to what we are expecting. So that is the place we are going to penalize the model, and the next thing would be to update the model and get the feedback back into the model so that next time when we generate, this gives us the correct output. So this is a high level example that how does this thing work. We expect the model to give us the next word in a form of prediction. If the prediction is correct, we reward the model. If the prediction is not correct, we penalize the model and we update the model, right? So this is how the inside of that architecture works on a unsupervised training. Before going more into this architecture, we have to understand two things which are available when you are learning the AI and the ML things, right? Previously, we used to have models which were called RNN and CNN. This is not a part of GPT-3 architecture, but to understand the GPT-3 architecture, at least you need to have the basics of RNN and CNN. Now, what exactly is the RNN, right? And what are the problems which are associated when I use the RNN? So for example, I have given an input to the RNN model, which is called Hello World, and I tell the model to convert this thing to French, right? Now the output for the Hello World converted to French is Bonjour de Bonjour le monde. Sorry for my accent, not very fluent in French, but this is what the model has given me as an output in the RNN. Now, this used to work previously also, right? We used to have a lot of language conversion, all these tools were available and they were working on RNN, which was called Recurrent Neural Network. Now, what is the problem with the RNN? The first thing is it takes one word at a time and then process, which means that first it will take hello, it will convert, then it will take the world and then it will convert. If you notice here in the second line, I have highlighted the word sequentially, which means that it used to sequentially split the input and give you the French counterparts. Now, sometime what might happen, the word gets shuffled and the output which you get is not proper whatever you require. The other problem with the RNN was that it cannot handle large sequence text or paragraph. So for example, if I have given a large sequence, large paragraph, by the time it reaches the end of the paragraph, the model lost the context. Now what exactly is the context? So basically, to convert the sentence or the paragraph from one language to the another language, the model needs to understand the context. But since it is converting one word one by one, that is where sometime when the paragraph is long, the model used to lose the context. The other thing is, since it is processing sequentially, it is very hard to train these models. RNN has been used for natural language processing and time series data analysis. RNN use loops to allow for the network to have a form of memory that is used to analyze the sequential data. The word to remember here is sequential, right? So this was the model which was available, which was working fine, pretty good for some of the ML use cases, but this has got these problems. At the same time, we also used to have one more model which is called CNN, Convolutional Neural Network, right? Which is typically working on the images. CNN are used for image recognition and processing. The idea was to identify the objects in the photos. It is used for image recognition processing. CNN consists of multiple layers of convolutional that extract the relevant information from an image, right? So for example, I have given a lot of images. The idea was that model to evaluate in a picture that this is a chair, this is a laptop, this is a mobile phone. The objective was to identify the objects in the photo. So these were the two techniques which were actually being used before the GPT-3 architecture as well, right? And we understand what is the problem and what does this model do. GPT-3 introduced us to something which is called transformers. Now the T in the GPT means the transformers. Now what exactly this does? The first thing this model does is it uses positional encoding. So transformers has got some I would say characteristics. The first characteristics is called the positional encoding, which means that it is not processing the data sequentially. RNN used to process the data sequentially, that's why it has got some problems. Whereas in the positional encoding, we put a position number to each word before sending the data to the model. Here, the neural network understands the word order from the data. So, the problem of the RNN was solved in the transformer by using something which is called positional encoding. The next characteristics for the transformer was the attention, where the neural network structure that allowed text model to look every single word in original sentence while making the decision about how to translate a word. Rather than looking at the single word, it used to look at the complete sentence. And that thing is called the attention, which is again a characteristics of the transformers. The next feature, or I would say characteristics, is the self-attention. Neural languages with huge data can understand the synonym like word, programmer, developer, software engineer. All of these words, it was able to understand that yes, we are referring to one of the same thing. It has the capability to learn the rules of grammar, tense, and the sentences. And the best part, it helps us to get the context of the word around it. Right now, this thing is important, that help us to get the context around the word, because to convert anything or to get the meaning out of the sentence, it is important to understand the context. Let's take an example. I give you two sentences. The first sentence is bring the bats for tomorrow match. The second sentence is bats are the only flying mammal. Now in both the sentences the word bats is common. But when I read the first sentence, it is definitely, I can understand that it is relating to a cricket match or any kind of match. Whereas in the second sentence, we are talking about a bird or a flying mammal. So that is why it is important to get the context of the complete sentence before doing any data manipulation. So these are the three characteristics which were available in the transformers, and GPT-3 uses transformers which have positional encoding, attentions, and the self attentions. Okay. Now let's talk about the theory. What exactly are these transformers? Traditionally, NLP models, natural language processing models such as RNN, we have seen what is RNN and we have seen what is CNNs as well, right? This has been used for sequence modeling tasks, such as all of these things we can do. However, this model had some limitations which we have just discussed. Transformers, on the other hand, rely on self-attention mechanism. I hope now you understand what is self mechanism, that allows us to get the context of the complete sentence, right? The self-attention mechanism can capture the dependencies between the tokens in the input sequence regardless of their position in the sequence, making it well suited for long range dependencies. The other thing, Transformers has achieved the state-of-art result in the variety of NLP tasks such as translation, question answering, languaging models, image recognition, and the speech recognition as well, right? And GPT-3 uses transformers. So GPT, the T stands for transformers, and this is what the transformer does. It solves your traditional challenges with the RNN and the CNN models, right? Now talking about the architecture, what exactly is the architecture of the GPT-3? GPT-3 uses something which is called transformer, which we have just discussed, which is an attention based model which has been successful in the NLP task because of its capability to handle the large networks, right? The GPT-3 has a total of 96 layer, where each layer is having 1024 hidden units. The model has a vocab size of 50,000, which includes a mix of words, subword, characters. It is trained on large corpus of data, so that is why the prediction is very much good here, right? GPT-3 also uses a deep stack of transformer block, where each block consists of self attention mechanism followed by a feed forward neural network. The self attention models allow the model to focus on the different part of the input, while the feed forward applies for a non-linear transformation of the input. The last part, GPT-3 also uses a technique which is called few shot learning, which allows it to generalize to a new task without requiring the extensive training of each task. This is achieved through the use of prompt programming, where the model is provided with a short example of what is required and then generates the output based on that example. So overall, we can say the GPT-3 architecture is designed to effectively process the natural languages. It can capture the complex patterns and dependencies in the data and generate a high quality human like text. So this was the overall idea of the GPT-3 architecture. Now, what exactly are the capabilities? GPT-3 has a wide range of capabilities which ranges from text generation, language translation, question answering, summarization, chatbot, sentiment analysis, text completion, and the code generation, right? Most of them, as the name suggests, that text generation can use to generate the high quality human like text with different style, different genre, articles, stories, poems, all of this we can write. The next part is the language translation, where we just convert one sentence or the text from one language to another language with high accuracy and the fluency. GPT-3 also can answer question in the conversational way, where you can just ask a question and then you can ask a follow-up question as well, right? Same like we do a conversation. Summarization simply means where GPT-3 can summarize long documents into shorter and much concise summary. GPT-3 can be also used to create conversational chatbots that interact with the human in a more natural and engaging way. Sentiment analysis is to identify the context or the sentiments of the piece of information. This can be a feedback. For example, you are running a business, you have a lot of feedback, right? The feedback is coming in the form of Google, they're coming in the form of emails. I write a model which actually take the sentiments, and I from the model can understand that what are the sentiments of my customer, whether they are happy, they are sad, they are doing liking the product, they are not liking the product. So sentiment analysis become an important thing while during the feedback analysis. Text completion can complete the sentences and paragraphs in a natural way while making it useful for tasks such as auto completion or the predictive text, right? And the code generations can generate the computer code in a variety of programming languages, which has the potential application in the software development and the automations. These are just a few of the capabilities of the GPT-3. Because of its flexibility and ability to adapt to the new task with minimal training, there is a lot of potential for GPT-3 to be used in a wide range of applications in future. Now, what exactly are the next generation apps? To the date, over 300 apps has been created with the help of GPT-3, right? These are some of the one viable help companies better understand their customer by using GPT-3 to provide useful insight from customer feedback and easy to understand summaries. Fable Studio is creating a new genre of interactive stories using GPT-3 to help the power of to power their story-driven virtual beings. Algolia uses GPT-3 in their Algolia Answer product to offer relevant lightning and fast semantic search for their customers. As of now, when I'm recording this video, we have over 300 apps, but when you check, it might be increased, right? We can always go to the blogspot, which is mentioned on the slide. We have to just go to OpenAI blogs about the GPT-3 apps, and you will get the complete list of apps which are built on the GPT-3. Okay, so that was a quick overview and the architecture of GPT-3, right? The next bit is ChatGPT. What exactly is this, right? So OpenAI have also trained a model which is called ChatGPT, which interacts in a conversational way, which means that you can ask a question, the model will give you an answer, you ask a follow-up question, and the model gives you a follow-up answer. The dialogue format make it possible for ChatGPT to answer the follow-up question, admits its mistake, you can challenge for the incorrect, and it rejects the inappropriate request. This is how the ChatGPT interface look like. You can simply go to OpenAI ChatGPT, and this is how the interface would look like of ChatGPT. We have already covered a detailed video on the ChatGPT. The link to the video is available in the description for your reference. A quick view, you can ask ChatGPT like explain the quantum computing of the simple terms, give me some ideas to celebrate the 10 years old birthday. It has this capability. It can build and respond in a conversational way. You can ask the follow-up question and train to decline the inappropriate request, right? There are some limitation. The first thing is it has the limited knowledge of the events till 2021. If you ask something which is happening on 2022, this model might not give you the correct answer. It may occasionally produce harmful instruction based biased contents, and it may occasionally generate the incorrect information. So these are the limitation which the ChatGPT has, and they have put it up front. Some of the example, so I just asked ChatGPT, can you suggest me a good laptop for video editing? So as you can see, the model has given me all the laptops which we can use with a description about the laptop, right? And this is a pretty good which can be used. The next thing is, I just asked the model that I have some leftover rice and pizza from the night party. Can you help me with a recipe? And as you can see here, the model is appropriately giving me a complete recipe of what to do with the leftover rice and pizza, and it has given me a recipe for pizza fried rice. That might not be the case if I simply search the same thing in a Google or a YouTube, right? So that is how it is different. The next thing, we talked about the code generation. ChatGPT is giving me C# code to generate the SQL database and display it on the web page, and it has given me the complete C# code with examples as well. Not only this, I was talking about the conversational thing, right? So I asked the ChatGPT that I want you to take my interview as an HR manager and ask me the questions as an HR manager, and I'll answer, right? So as you can see that the model has started taking my interview and has given me the questions as an HR manager will ask me. In the next prompt, I told the model, help me to get the question of all these questions, help me to get the answers of all these questions. So now if you notice, whatever question the model has asked me, the model itself is answering this question in the second thing, right? So just think it like that. If I go to Google and I say that help me to get answer of all these questions, now this model is built on a conversational way. It understands the context. So it is giving, it understand that yes, Mukesh is asking about the previous question. But if I go and do the same thing in Google, this might not work, right? And the answers, if you would see here, these are pretty much relevant to whatever we are asking, right? So that is the beauty of using the Chat GPT. Not only this, you can ask the Chat GPT to translate anything to Hindi. So I just say that I hope you are enjoying the session, and it translated that to Hindi like मुझे आशा है कि आप सत्र का आनंद ले रहे हैं. You can do it for any other languages as well. I asked the Chat GPT that tell me a joke. It shows me a joke that why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing, right? If you don't find the joke funny, you can always tell the model, right? So I don't find it funny, so it will try with a better joke. You can write an outline of the book, you can write articles, you can do n number of things, right? So these are some of the examples which the Chat GPT can do for you. The next thing was that all these models also have something which is called API, where we can use any other programming languages to get access and try our hands on the API. So for example, if you have a Java application, .NET application, UiPath robot, any other software which can invoke API, you can actually go to this website platform.openai.com and create an API key for you and use it in your automations or in your processes. I have made this detailed video where I am explaining each step one by one, that how you can take help of the API, how do you test the API, what to leverage, where to put what, everything I have explained. So in case you are interested to explore the API, please watch this video that will give you more insights on the API. But the idea is you should be aware of that the OpenAI has this feature of providing you the API key as well. Now, today we have talked about two things. One is GPT-3 and one is ChatGPT. I'm sure many of you might have got a confusion that what exactly is the difference between the GPT-3 and the ChatGPT, right? So that is what I am going to clear out here. The first thing, GPT-3 and ChatGPT both are the large language models which are created by OpenAI, but they serve different purposes. The first one is GPT-3 generative pre-trained transformers. So now I hope you understand what is transformers, right? It is a state of art of language model designed for language tasks such as text completion, text translation, question answering. So if you are building something on this language side where you're doing all of this, it has been built on 175 billion parameters. We go and use the GPT-3. Whereas the Chat GPT, on the other hand, is specially designed for conversational AI, where you have a large set of data and you want a human-like responses from the queries, right? Chat GPT is optimized for the tasks such as customer service, chatbots, and the personal assistant. So in summary, we can say that GPT-3 is a general purpose language model, whereas ChatGPT is a specialized model designed for conversational AI application. So depending on our requirement, we are free to use the transformers GPT-3, or we can always use the ChatGPT as well. The last thing which I want to cover today is called the conversational apps with ChatGPT. Is it possible to build the conversational apps? The answer to the question is yes. We can always build conversational apps with ChatGPT. So this is at a very high level which I have written here, that how you can build. First of all, you have to define a use case. This involves identifying the purpose of the application, the target audience, what type of questions or conversations are users likely to have. Once you have defined the use case, the next step would be to collect the data, where you need to train the ChatGPT. This can include the existing chat logs, customer support tickets, or any other conversational data. Once you have collected the data, before fine tuning it to the ChatGPT, the third step would be the pre-processed data. The collected data needs to be pre-processed to ensure that it is in a format that can be used to train the ChatGPT. This can involve the cleaning of the data, removing the duplicates, preventing it from the format that can be used in the ChatGPT. And this is the place where you can actually use the technology such as robotic process automation, RPA, UiPath as a tool to clean the data, because these are the tasks which are absolutely mundane and repetitive. In case you are new to RPA and you don't understand what is robotic process automation, what is this technology, what are its capability, I am sharing you one video as an introductory video to let you explore the RPA. Okay. Once my pre-processed data is available, the next thing would be to fine tune the ChatGPT for the special use cases. This involves training ChatGPT on the pre-processed data and optimizing the model's hyperparameters. Once the fine tuning is done, the next bit would be to deploy the model into a production environment. This involves setting up the API endpoints and which can be accessed by the users, and integrating the model to your application. It can be any application for that matter, which has capability to hit an API call and get the response. Finally, you would need to monitor the performance of the ChatGPT model, refine if it is necessary. This involves analyzing the user feedback, identifying the areas where the model is not performing, making improvements to the model, or training the model to address the issue. Right? So overall, I can say that building conversational AI application with ChatGPT requires a combination of domain knowledge, data engineering skills, machine learning expertise. By following these steps, we can build a conversational AI which can at the end value to your users, right? So building an app, conversational app with ChatGPT is absolutely possible. Okay, so that is it pretty much I wanted to cover in this session. I hope this session was insightful. If you want to connect me on LinkedIn, you can simply scan this code. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always subscribe to the channel, right? So with this, I would like to wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. I hope you now get an idea of what is a GPT-3 versus a ChatGPT, when to use what. And in case you want to build the any use case with the help of UiPath, we have this dedicated video where we have covered OpenAI, ChatGPT API integration with UiPath. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.